From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of evenings LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022 and the growing concerns about a recession, stagflation, and growing interest rate inversion. What's going on? All the latest details tonight. But first, we start with some great breaking news. As a fourth stimulus check has now landed, $15,000 to $80,000 checks from four stimulus in the viewer's hands. I'll show you how to get that check tonight in prime time on evenings. Then, third stimulus, MSC checks are landing as well. It's an addition to that big $1,400 check you got last year. These are MSC checks, even more big. 12 months at $2,000. I'll show you how to get it in today's recording. Then we have breaking news about six stimulus heating up. That is the trifecta of the United States, Germany, and France going to a potential formulation in April. I'll have the latest details on that. This stimulus heating up as the White House now signals that there will be a wealth tax. A huge wealth tax has been announced. And that wealth tax is important because guess what? That was what Liz Warren proposed to fund for this stimulus. Well, the latest details on that tonight. Then we look at the developing details on that student loan debt forgiveness, heating up in seven stimulus. Six stimulus, new concerns about recession tonight as the inflation curve continues to spiral in the wrong direction. In tonight's recording, we have a lot of breaking news heating up. First, the Build Back Better Act. Joe Manchin, who comments, says he wants to do it. Wow. We have new indications about the new CR released minutes ago. I have them on breaking news tonight on Evenings LA. Then we have new details about that SS300. As new analyst says that inflation may be higher than it was last month. This is the inversion of the yield curve. Good for SS300, bad for the economy. Then we'll be looking at the big developing details of that fifth stimulus heating up with a new wealth tax. And then seven stimulus, that student loan debt forgiveness. That is that May 2nd deadline. We're just getting started. That's just the first half of the video. Stay with me because it's a big night. It's America's most watched show in prime time for financial news. And tonight you're going to see why viewers of this channel have cleaned up and how you can clean it up as well. With those MSC checks and those four stimulus checks landing, it's evenings. And it starts right now. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, it's March 28th, 2022, with breaking details tonight about all those incredible checks, recessionary concerns, and inflationary concerns. It's a huge broadcast. I'm excited you're here. In tonight's recording, we're going to go over all these checks that have now landed and the other checks that come in as well. Get a pen and paper ready, because tonight in that 1 hour special broadcast in prime time, starting right now, we're going to go over those third stimulus MSC checks, which have now landed. It's in addition to that $1,400 you got last year. Stay with me. I'm going to show you how to get it. Then, big checks from fourth stimulus have now landed. $15,000 to $80,000. It's huge. It's in addition to those third stimulus MSC checks, $2,000 a month for 12 months viewers are averaging on. Then we have a May 2nd date set by the White House for seven stimulus. This is that student loan debt forgiveness going to a potential head on May 2nd. We have new indications tonight about what's going on with that SS300 to raise your benefits up $300 a month if you're more per month a lifetime. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security and Railroad benefits. Then new indication tonight about why six stimulus is very important. Largest stimulus package of a generation and bigger than anything you've ever seen on this channel. It's coming in April, and all the latest details on it tonight. Wheat, grain, soybeans, price of gasoline at the pump, soaring inflation, everything that needs to be fixed in that six stimulus package. Boy, it's a big night and a big broadcast. Stay to the very end because I have a big surprise for you in the final minutes of this video. But let's first start with the Build Back Better Act. We're going to go over those checks one at a time. And then the breaking news, because there is a lot of breaking news on tonight. And it's all really quite good, actually. The Build Back Better Act, let's first go over the checks so you know what's in there. Build Back Better Act is a bill. It's not law, and it's currently in the Senate. That Build Back Better Act has three classes of checks and three add-on checks that amount to a lot of money. $15,000 across all these incredible clusters. Let's go over the first of three clusters, starting right now. In that first cluster, we have Hazard Pay. One more year of the Earned Income Tax Credit for my essential workers. Then they got the CTC in there one more year. For my children, $3,600 for them. $4,000 of elder care, got it in there. $4,000 of care for young children, got it in there. $550 check for college students. The Pell Grant, got it in there. Huge. $12,500 got in there for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. And then home repairs. If you need to repair your home and you live in a low-income community, they got that in there as well. Now let's turn to the first of three add-ons of checks. It's less than $25,000. Got in there from Maxine Waters here in Southern California. She got this incredible provision that will give money to the seller in your name at the time of escrow for the purchase of your first home. It's very important in view of the breaking details and news I'm going to get to in just a second, because guess what? A lot of problems with the housing industry tonight, and that's why Build Back Better gets a new push across the line tonight. The latest details on that, but let's continue now with the other checks in Build Back Better. In that second cluster of checks, we have home repairs and to weatherize your home and paid leave. Paid leave is a lot, folks. It is if you have to stay home due to sickness or illness. If you work, and how much? $1,400 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. $35,000, then $800. $15,000, $400. W-2 1099, you get it. How many weeks? 4 to 6 weeks per year. So yes, there's a lot of money. There's about $4,000 to $6,000 a year, folks. Huge. And if you don't work, but your son or daughter does work, then they're going to get the check every time they have to take you to the doctor for that assistance. The first add-on of checks from Maxine Waters. The second add-on of checks, oh boy, from Bob Casey. Got a little bit less than $250 billion of money in there for free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Incredible. Great news. Let's turn to that third cluster of checks. Free internet for all checks already in second stimulus. Farmers checks. Also, money checks for independent contractors, vision checks, not vision checks, nutrition checks, and then the seniors getting a lot of checks. The seniors among the House and Senate Democrats would have vision, hearing, dental, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, the Medicaid gap fix, providing years of insurance in those 12 Republican holdout states, and there you go. The third add-on of checks is par for the course because the senators vowed to add checks to them. And that Build Back Better Act would add in there, oh boy, MSC, baby. MSC, monthly IRS stimulus check. This would be the third add-on of checks to the Build Back Better Act bill. Who would get it? Let's go over the details starting right now. Legislators representing the viewership of the channel will be the same eligibility as a third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 or less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it, double it. Family of four, you get as well, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, you get as well. It is not income. It's not taxable. It's offered nationwide. It goes off the recent tax return. That's how you get paid otherwise by direct deposit. And there you go. It also pays adult dependents. $2,000 a month after the first month. It would be, $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000 for 6 months. That, my friends, is MSC in the Build Back Better Act. The bill currently in the Senate. Now, what's important for you to know tonight is that Build Back Better is a bill. But out of nowhere, the president got you, yes, he got you, a ancillary piece of legislation. What is that ancillary piece of legislation? It is the fourth stimulus law that came from the President of the United States. Let's slow this down. Fourth stimulus has two fourth stimuluses. There is the bill in Congress, not law, and the law that the president did. Congress, they're still sitting on theirs. The president got his done. It's law. And it's paying out $15,000 to $80,000, starting when last 4 weeks ago. Let's go over the details starting right now. 4 weeks ago, the President of the United States looked to Congress and understood they were not getting Build Back Better done that week. So he made his own law. He does not need Congress for this one, and it's called the Homeowners Grant. $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. Fourth stimulus checks, have they landed? Yes. How much? $15,000 to $80,000. It's incredible. So let's go over the details first as a preview, but more of it is coming up in this video. Fourth stimulus checks have landed, $15,000 to $80,000. If you're a member of this channel, you already know how to get them. If you're not, become a member. The link's at the top of the chat. This is an addition to the Build Back Better bill, which is not law. This is a piece of legislation the White House said the president without Congress, and it is landed. Stay with me. I'm going to go over how to get those checks in just a second. Now, also coming up later in this video is that third stimulus MSC check. Build Back Better has its own MSC checks in there. This is different than that. This is an addition to it. It's third stimulus, which became a law last year. So this is law. And have viewers gotten it? Yes. How much are they getting? $2,000 a month for an average of 12 months. Oh boy, that is a lot more money than the fourth stimulus. It's coming up later in this video. I'm going to show you how to get it. In the meantime, become a member. Let's turn to the other breaking developing details that happened in the last few minutes because boy, it's been a jam-packed day with new recessionary concerns. First, we're going to turn back to the White House. The White House. Joe Biden had watched as that continuing resolution became law about 3 weeks ago. Had no money in there, but had county stimulus in there for you. So what did Joe Biden do? Over recent days, he said that he will come back and ask for money for COVID because he got no money for COVID in the CR. Well, I was waiting for that COVID social spending bill for the president. And today, his social spending bill landed, his budget bill. It's not a bill because it's a recommendation. He didn't write anything. It's just a recommendation. Is there money for COVID in there? There is not. So very confusing. Let me explain what we do have and we don't have from the President of the United States tonight. My translation of it is very unclear. The President of the United States announced today his new budget request from Congress and the Pentagon. He requested a massive spending of $31 billion of defense spending and more, but he put nothing for COVID in there. He included also a lot of other things like what I detailed to you on Sunday's broadcast. On March 27th, 2022, I told you he was going to put in this what he calls a millionaires or billionaires minimum tax. I call it a wealth tax. Why do I call that? Because Liz Warren proposes on her campaign run for president, and she was going to use that to fund SS300. More about that in a second. So he debuted this today. What do I think about it? Well, it's not going to pass bipartisan support. Republicans will not tax billionaires. That's not part of their platform. So very fascinating. There's room to get a stimulus check in there, but I don't think this is the COVID piece of legislation because he said he wants money for COVID. He needs it because guess what? The dominant strain for COVID in the United States soon may become the subvariant of Omicron. Wow, that's huge. Now, let's turn back to Build Back Better Act. I told you I had breaking news on that front. Really fascinating details tonight as we now have a push from who else? Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin says he wants to do Build Back Better. In a luncheon over the weekend with a group called the American Clean Power Association, Joe Manchin says that he is ready to do the Build Back Better. Then after that, his press secretary was asked about the comments, and his press secretary confirmed. Sam Runyon, the Senate's communications director, said Senator Manchin is always ready and willing to negotiate negotiations to get this done. Very fascinating across the board. So we now have one today, breaking news from Joe Manchin says he's ready to do Build Back Better and get it done. Number two, the provisions he wants to put in there, I'm not putting any weight on because he's talking to a group of clean energy people. So what do you say he wants to put in there? Clean energy, because they're buying his lunch. If they were buying him, if they were the National Bacon Association, he would put bacon in there, and I would be really happy. But that was not the lunch. Let's now turn to the other part of the Build Back Better, which is getting really fascinating tonight, which is that the mortgage rates are going out of control. The U.S. mortgage rates in the United States are growing out of control, and now that may be the reason to get Build Back Better done. Not my advocacy. That's, in fact, what Democrats are now talking about. The latest details tonight is that the mortgage rates in the United States are swirling out of control. They grew to 5% on Friday, the 30-year fixed mortgage, to a rate we have not seen in a long time. Up 24 basis points, significantly higher. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate spiked 73 basis points since December of 2021. This is not good. And that has now caused the housing market, get ready for this one, to have now 4 months of straight declines. We haven't seen that in a very long time. February's numbers were a 4.1% miss. Remember earlier in the video where I said the Build Back Better has a lot of checks in there for housing? Yeah, there you go. The housing provisions like Maxine's Water, $25,000 to purchase your first home. You need it because you cannot afford a 5% mortgage. Number two, to repair the home, you need it because the standard of living is getting very expensive. So what's the latest data on this one? Republicans and Democrats both understand that the housing market is in a stagflation mode and could be heading into stagflation, if not recession. That's coming up later in this video. That is why they're using the latest economic data as a reason to get Build Back Better passed. All right, another part of the data tonight is that the Federal Reserve is trying to figure out how to raise interest rates to bring down inflation, but you're trying to figure out how to get that swap from cola to inflation right now before inflation comes to go down. Let's go over the details. Joe Biden had promised to swap out cola for inflation. That will lock in bigger money for you, not this month and not this year, but a lifetime. And if that swap happened today, we're good. Inflation's tracking about 8% right now or higher. It tracked at 8% in December, then January at 8% as I predicted all last year. And the bond traders, the 10-year bond, the U.S. bond traders are now believing that maybe inflation is even tracking hotter. That's good for you, because if Joe makes a swap today, or at least makes a phone call to the Social Security Administrator to make the swap today, you lock in about $200 more per month. Not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. Then inflation tracks at 4% later this year. That'll be another $100 on top of that. What's the latest data tonight? Very, very fascinating. Economist Mohammed El-Ararian, who's an absolute, has big disdain for Jay Powell. Every interview he has, he says Jay Powell does something wrong. But tonight I like his interview because guess what he says? He says that the cost of living crisis, which is how much it costs to live, renters, homeowners, is out of control. And we're looking at cost of living crisis. That's why we're looking at the next 2 quarters, the 3 quarters, where the consumer confidence is going to be hard hit by inflation. I think it's going to be a lower consumer sentiment. We already know this, so this is a pretty easy analysis it's giving us. Consumer sentiment. Are you happy with the economy? You're not. And we've had that data over the last 30 days. Now we see the cost of living adjustment, that how much it costs to live, you can't afford this. This is why Jay Powell may not get it right. Let me tell you why. Jay Powell has been talking about pivoting from a quarter basis point from that FOMC meeting this month to now half basis point next month. Okay. Is it going to impact your SS300? No, not right away. It's that May part of the equation. We're okay if Joe makes a phone call right now. We're okay if he makes a phone call in April. But what about May? I think Jay Powell's going to get frustrated by May because his instruments may not work. I'm not the only one that's alone in saying that. Jay Powell's idea of raising interest rates to reduce inflation may not work. Why? Because the inflation you're seeing right now is tied potentially to supply chain. And if he changes those interest rates, then guess what? The inflation may still be there even though he's modified the interest rates. So let's go over the analysis right now. What is my situation on it? Number one, I think that Jay Powell does not cause us a concern for SS300 through May. So Joe, make the phone call. Number two, I'm a little concerned about what Jay Powell said for December because he wants to have inflation at 1.9%. We wanted it at 4%, which is what Jay Powell said 30 days ago. That would be another $100 on top of your existing benefits. Can he get to 1.9? I don't think he can again. I don't think he has the tools. So I think we're okay for December. I think we're okay for April. What about this May? We don't know at the moment. But who does know something? American people. A new poll released by Embassy News tonight. This is not, First America, Love America, Bald Eagle, Association News.com. This is NBC News. Said 71% of respondents found that the Biden administration has gotten the country's economy off to the wrong start. Oh boy. That is not a good poll. That is not a good poll result. 40% of Americans approve of the job he's doing with the economy. That means 60% disapprove. Well, I'll go over more about that later in this recording, but here's what you need to know is that for purposes of your SS300, I think we're good. I think we're good for now if Joe makes a phone call anytime between now and late April. Now, let's go over the second part of the analysis, which is that big money for rent, MSC, and for stimulus. It's huge. Get your pen and paper ready. If you're a member, get your membership newsletter in front of you. If you're not, become a member. The link's at the top of the channel, pin comment. Let's go over the details right now. Fourth stimulus has 2 fourth stimuluses. There is the fourth stimulus bill, not law, and the fourth stimulus the president did is law. Let's take a step back. Fourth stimulus, Build Back Better Act, is a bill currently in the Senate, not law. And that's what Joe Manchin was talking about. He's ready to negotiate and get it done, not law. Proposes lots of things in there, but they're not law yet. The president 4 Fridays ago said, you know what? I'm going to do my own law. It's an add-on. It's 4 stimulus add-on, and it is law. It is $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. They've landed. He sent them out. They've been paid out. And viewers have gotten, members have gotten it. How do you get them? I'm going to go over them in a second with you. These are 4 stimulus law add-ons. It's called the homeowners grant. They have been sent out. You can get them. I'm going to show you them in just a second. Then, third stimulus. Wow. Third stimulus became a law last year. January last year, you got a $1,400 stimulus check from it. Remember? Congratulations. But now, there are MSC checks that are growing that viewers have gotten from third stimulus. Yeah, that law from last year, it is still law. And instead of just 6 months or 4 months, they're getting 12 months on average, $2,000. This is an addition to that fourth stimulus MSC check in Build Back Better, which is not a law. How do you get these big sums of checks? They're coming up in the second half of this video. Let's look at the landscape of where we are right now and the routing times. First, third stimulus MSC checks have landed right now. Go get them. As soon as you get approved, you get them every month on the month automatically. They have gone out. Number 2, fourth stimulus homeowners grant checks have gone out. The lead time on these is about 1 week after you apply and get approved. Then you get this big check, $15,000 to $80,000. Next up would likely be that swap from COVID inflation if Joe Biden does it right now. That would have a 30-day wait time until that would kick in. Then we already know that sixth stimulus heats up in April because of what's coming up later in this video. And sixth stimulus is that Putin cost stimulus to battle the recession. Then we already know when seventh stimulus' date heats up. That is May 2nd. The president gave us that date. That is for student loan debt forgiveness. Oh, boy. So at the time of tonight's recording, for March 28, 2022, we have two stimulus packages, 3 and 4 paying out at the same time. By April, we will have a third, potentially, that's sixth stimulus. By May, we'll have potentially a fourth. That will be seventh stimulus. And if not, fifth stimulus heating up as well with that big billionaire's tax. Oh boy. We got a big second half of this video. Get ready. But in the commercial break, become a member. Come back after the commercial break and be ready to pounce and learn all the incredible information in a membership newsletter tonight. It's a big second half. On the shores of Santa Monica, California, you found it. You have found America's most watched show for financial news in prime time. Because nowhere are you seeing the breadth of this coverage anywhere in the United States. Nowhere is anyone getting these checks, these enormous checks, than here. No one is learning and pouncing like a very sophisticated person like on this channel. You found it. It's LALATE, and welcome to becoming a Purple Hawk. See you back in 60 seconds as the big second half of tonight's primetime broadcast continues. It's a 1-hour special report, and I'll see you back in 60 seconds with more about those incredible checks. But first, here's a little bit about the members community page. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals. Reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now in a big second half of Evenings LA from the shores of Santa Monica, California. A lot of big breaking details tonight. Mortgage industry out of control, student loan debt forgiveness heating up, questions about China, and then big questions about that recession. of all these incredible details in the big second half. Boy, we're just getting started. But let's get to the big money at hand. Tonight's Evenings LA broadcast is one for the record books. This is a big broadcast because tonight we have a lot of big money. Third stimulus, MSC checks. Fourth stimulus, $15,000 to $80,000 checks. Seventh stimulus heating up in May. Sixth stimulus heating up in just 4 weeks from now. Boy, get your pen and paper ready. We got a lot to go over, and it all starts right now. What's at issue right now is that the President of the United States made a big surprise for us 4 weeks ago by looking at Congress and saying, you know what, Congress, you haven't gotten that fourth stimulus Build Back Better law. I'm going to do my law. And he did. 4 Fridays ago, the President announced a homeowner's grant, $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. These are fourth stimulus checks. Again, $15,000 to $80,000. What happened that Friday night was actually quite surprising because when he announced it, it was buried in a news article. And if you missed the article, you missed it. And guess what? This was the only channel in America that covered the breaking news. And now 4 weeks later, you're not going to hear it covered anywhere else. So you want to learn about these checks, this is the only place to really learn about them. What are they? Let's go over the details starting right now. These first are fourth stimulus checks, number one. The average payout is $15,000 to $80,000, says the White House, but the viewership of this channel is averaging about $66,000, and viewers have got to the money. Number two, eligibility is same as a third stimulus check on the income side. Single individual, $75,000 or less. If you got that's your income, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it as well. Now, it does not double, triple, quadruple like a stimulus check. It's $15,000 to $80,000 per household. Huge. Next, if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, you can get it as well. What's the last remaining element of it? You have to own your own home. Again, income qualification. If you're on benefits, you're good. And if you own your own home, wow. If you're a renter, stay with me because I got money for renters coming up in just a second with that third stimulus MSC check. Here you go. $15,000 to $80,000 for stimulus checks. 1. Law. 2. Been mailed. 3. Been received by viewers. 4. You want it as well? Get ready to get it right now. I'm going to show you how. First, you want to go to the top of the channel, the pinned comment. Become a member. The membership newsletter has featured this since day one when the president announced it. When he announced this 4 Fridays ago, it immediately went into the membership channel newsletter of this channel, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. What do? You open that membership newsletter, and right under the daily price of gasoline, wheat, and corn, the next line is the name of the grant. On purpose of this video, I call it the homeowner's grant, but it has a longer name than that. Then it goes over the income qualification we just went over. Then it goes over what it pays for, like property taxes, like home repairs, and other great sums of money. Next, it features everything you need to know to get approved, and finally, it gives you the link. Gives you the link to go right into the federal website, which then sends you to the state website. And you click and you pounce. You pounce, Purple Hawks. This is your money. Congratulations to all the incredible members of this channel who have gotten the $15,000 to $80,000, with most viewers tracking on the high end, close to the $80,000. Congratulations to all the other members who have gotten their applications in, and they've gotten the announcement back. They're complete and approved, and they're just waiting to get the funds. Here's what you need to know. It's first come, first serve. So you have to pounce as a Purple Hawk. You have to pounce as a Purple Hawk. You got to get that application in as fast as possible by becoming a member as quickly as possible and getting that membership application in, get that application in for the grant right away. It's a grant. It's not income. It's not taxable. Would not disqualify you for benefits. It's not a loan. Does not require a credit check. Every day that passes that you wait around, don't get that application to file, thousands of people in your state get in front of you. It doesn't have an limit of funds, and states will run out of the funds eventually. So don't wait around. Don't think about it. Don't ask questions. Go get it right today. Again, that is the fourth stimulus add-on law done by Joe Biden, not Congress. Average payout is $15,000 to $80,000. Let's take a step back to that Build Back Better Act bill. Not law yet, but real indication for Joe Manchin in that new conference that he attended for the free bacon. No, it was for the free clear energy. He wanted to clear his energy. He said that he's excited to get it done. Am I concerned about what he said he wants in there? No, because it was just a conference and he's addressing those people's concerns. So he said he wants their items in there, and he also wants prescription medication and deficit spending. Wow, incredible, great news. When I look at that CR, am I confused by what the president did today? It's a little problematic because he's so talkative about that COVID money he didn't get. So we'll be watching. Remember, the CR that passed 3 weeks ago has county stimulus in it, does not have COVID, and that's why Joe Biden wants to come back with that money as well. Federal Reserve. I'm going to be watching very carefully with you if the Fed gives extra guidance on that April date. I think he's going to do half basis point. He has a lot of push, Jay Powell, from his Fed governors like Wallace and Boulard. That half basis point would not be good for SS 300, but it depends on how long it floats into the economy. I'll be watching that across the board. Now, let's go to those third stimulus MSE checks. Wow. Third stimulus became law in January 2021. And as soon as it became a law, I had already taught viewers how to get the sums of money. Why? Because I've been teaching viewers how to get these sums of money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more since December 2020. And in early 2021, I had a preview of something I called third stimulus. I coined the expression on this channel. I said, when this becomes law, there's going to be a lot of money for you. Average viewer got $45,000. And at the time, I told viewers get around 3 to 4 months. Well, the viewers in last 2 weeks, they have now gotten MSEs through their creation, not mine. What are they doing? They decided they didn't want a round of 3 to 4 months anymore. They wanted 1 year. And now countless viewers every night, every day, getting on average $2,000 a month for 12 months. Oh boy. Now let's recap. This is third stimulus, MSE checks, number 1. Number 2, it's for all of you. It's for all of you. If you're a renter or a homeowner, it's incredible. Number 3, you don't have to be behind on your bills. Number 4, it's nationwide. It's everywhere. Number 5, if you're a member, you're going to have 11 places to get it from. If you're a non-member, about 6 places, which I'm about to go over in just a second. Also, it's important to understand that this is in addition to that third stimulus check you got of $1,400. This is in addition to the fourth stimulus MSC check. This is not coming out from IRS. But once you get approved, you get this check every month automatic. Joe sent this out, and here we rock and roll. Where do you get it from? 6 places. Your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority. And the key words you say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say MSC. You don't say words they don't know. You don't say stimulus check or waivable check at the beach or lobster shorts. They'll run. There you rock and roll. Go get those big checks. Now, if you're a member of this channel, open that membership newsletter for third stimulus because guess what? You'll have 5 more nonprofits in there. The nonprofits often pick up money for these other items. So for example, we had one viewer in the live chat last night, Jose, who understands that this problem sometimes they stay in New York, they have money, then it runs out very quickly. So I said, lean on those nonprofits. And he said, oh, I forgot. So he's leaning on those nonprofits right now. Go do it, Jose. Push for you. You can do it. That is those third MSE checks. Now, let's go to the other breaking news tonight. Lots of it, and it's huge left and right. One of the big issues tonight is the 6th stimulus package. 6th stimulus package heating up in April. Why? We're heading recession if all this data stays in place. Day 1 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I said on this channel the following parts of the equation. Number 1, the price of gasoline at the pump, unsustainable. Stays where it is through the month of May. We go into recession for 2 years. Number 2, I said the price of bread at the supermarket, unsustainable. Stays where it is through the month of May. We go into recession for 2 years. I also said if we fix our situation domestically, but don't fix our partner situation internationally, we go into recession for 2 years. What do we have tonight? We have a lot of breaking news about the recessionary worries. Number 1, the U.S. 5-year and 30-year Treasury notes have now inverted. This is very bad news. For the first time since 2006, the last time they inverted, they signaled a recession. How does this work? The longer note, the note that's further out, 30-year, is supposed to have a higher yield than the note that's shorter. That's obvious. Shorter note, 5 years, is supposed to have a lesser payout than 30. For the first time since 2006, they have now inverted. The yield, this is what's called the yield curve inverting. You're learning this for the first time on Evenings LA. It's very bad news because generally it signals we're going to recession. The last time this happened, it really licked itself right into recession. Some analysts tonight, like Seth Carpenter from Morgan, says we do not think that inversion actually guarantees a recession. But he says in our baseline, an inversion without a recession is more likely. So he says inversion is happening, but it doesn't guarantee a recession. My analysis is that it's looking more like a recession. I'll tell you why. The White House has a series of things to fix, and they're all 6 stimulus, and the president has very few days left. So let's go over the details on each of those items one at a time. They're all 6 stimulus. First, what is 6 stimulus? 6 stimulus is Putin-caused stimulus. Let's go over the analysis because it may be overwhelming for some people. First stimulus was for COVID. Second stimulus was supposed to be for COVID. Third stimulus passed last spring. The American Rescue Plan was coming out of COVID. Fourth stimulus, the Build Back Better Act coming out of COVID. Fifth stimulus for seniors, their reform of the SSI system. Sixth stimulus is this, Putin caused issues. And seventh stimulus coming up later in this recording is student loan debt forgiveness. So, when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine on day one, I said there's a series of problems the White House needs to address. I'll go over the situation on each of them right now and tell you if it's good, bad, or improving. One at a time. The first issue, of course, is, as most people understand what six stimulus is about, oil. What's the situation on oil tonight? So the situation on oil tonight is a little bit problematic. Number one is the White House had that deal on oil. The White House had a deal on oil, and it was a huge deal. But the international price of gasoline, which is the Brent crude price, is at 120 plus again every single day this week. Why? If you have a deal on oil, then why are we out of control? Let me explain what's happening. The White House anchored a brilliant deal in the last 7 days with Iran to reduce their nuclear warheads in exchange for massive amounts of gasoline. Iranian oil has been on sanction for nearly 15 years, and now that JCPOA deal is about to be signed in Vienna. Negotiators were on behalf of the United States, Germany, and France, and on behalf of Iran. Well, Russia said to Iran, don't do the deal because we will make sure that we can negotiate and do trade with you. The White House said, go ahead, you can trade with them. And then the blasting happened. Then the deal was basically confirmed, but not signed. So at the time of tonight's recording from March 28, 2022, we're looking on the deal has not been signed up as far as I can tell. I think the deal is going to be done. Let's go over the details of what this deal means and does it solve the situation across the board. First, I believe it does solve the oil situation. Why? Because it's going to be a lot of oil. It's going to drop the price of gasoline to its lowest level of a generation, nearly 15 years. How low is low going to go? Let's go over the details right now. First, 1.5 million barrels of gasoline from Iran will flood the international markets and the United States by December. 500,000 by March or April. That'll bring us down to the lowest price point of a generation. That is a great achievement by the White House, but it's only achievement if it's signed up, and the deal has not been signed. Then, in the last 24 hours, the White House has done a deal with those partner allies for the big LNG. LNG is natural gas. And the White House getting a deal that will provide LNG to our partner allies from the White House. Huge details, but LNG is not gasoline that services your car. The White House did a deal with the European community over the weekend, EU, where the U.S., instead of Russia, will provide the EU LNG. Huge. So instead of buying Russian LNG, they'll be buying American-made LNG. Great for our workers, our employees, our businesses, and also our economy. But that doesn't solve the energy shortage. Tonight, the U.S. price of gasoline at the pump domestically from the AAA number for unleaded nationwide is still tracking 424. Unsustainable. Let's tell you why. That number is keeping Brent crude at 120, and 120 into May, we go into recession, 2 years. So at the time of tonight's recording for March 28th, we don't have a solution from the White House. They have the ability with that solution signing the Iranian deal, but it hasn't been signed yet. That's problem number one. Am I worried about it? If they sign the deal, I'm not worried about. It's the second part of the equation I'm worried about, which is wheat and grain. Wheat and grain is a very big problematic issue, which is the following. You cannot afford a price of loaf at $7 a loaf indefinitely. And if it stays at that price point indefinitely, we go into recession. Why? Because all the wheat, grain, soybean, corn from the regions that services the regions of the Middle East and Asia comes from, yes, Ukraine. And now those farmers cannot harvest the wheat and grain. They're battling Vladimir Putin. They're defending their country. The crops for this season, lost. The crops for next season, the crops are not being watered to prepare for next season, loss. And crops for several seasons could be lost across the board. So what has the White House done with this one? What the White House has done on this equation is that the White House, in the last 3 days, dedicated new sums of our wheat and grain to our partner allies so they don't starve to death. Good. That's only a short-term fix. What about the price domestically? Giving our wheat to our partner allies is good. Doesn't solve the situation domestically. Here's how complicated the situation is tonight, and I hope that Janet Yellen and the White House is briefing each other on watching these videos, because if they don't, they're not caught up. Let me tell you what's going on. Increase in production wheat and grain in the United States, not enough. It's not enough. Increasing wheat and grain internationally, not enough. I'll tell you why. Because just increasing the wheat in production reduces the revenue side but doesn't solve the cost side. Let me explain you the situation right now. If you're a U.S. farmer, you're currently losing your shirt. Why? Well, if you go to sell your wheat, you're getting almost, a 10-year high, the highest price of the wheat in 10 years. It's going through the roof. So your revenue is going through the roof. But then the cost to harvest the wheat is also going through the roof. Why? You're driving that truck to trailer, oil going through the roof. You need fertilizer, comes from Vladimir Putin, no longer part of the equation, fertilizer going through the roof. So suddenly it costs more to make more, you're losing your shirt. So the White House needs to address all these problems, and guess what? If you only address one of the problems, then we all go into recession. If you can't afford $7 a loaf of bread for 1 week and it goes on for 4 weeks into May, we go into recession. So that's the situation tonight for this. What do I believe? I believe that the recessionary pressures are growing too many in two different places. And Janet Yellen commented on this over the weekend. She talked about Xi. What was her comments about Xi? Now remember, when you talk about Xi, he is part of the equation for stimulus because Xi provides a lot of products to the United States. He's the leader of China. And now those products are potentially facing a looming supply chain. Even worse. What could be worse? If Vladimir Putin does get a penny from Xi to undo our sanctions, then China would get sanctioned and then we'd be going to recession. These are all very problematic situations. But the one that really scares the socks off of me, the banking industry. We don't know at the time of tonight's recording from March 28, 2022, how exposed U.S. banks are to a Vladimir Putin implosion. His economy is going from number 10 largest in the world to the next Cuba. His economy is likely to default on a big principal payment on April 4th, $2 billion. His debt is about to become devalued, credit worthless, and guess what? If your big bank, U.S., has an investment in that line item that's about to report that line item loss in their corporate earnings for Q2, Q3, and if you shop in a local bank, your local merchant bank down the street, they may do business with a big bank in the United States. It's a big bank problem, and you don't want your bank to go under. Joe Biden and Barack Obama know this better than anyone else. Day one of the Obama administration was to solve the banking industry, and now, nearly decades later, 6 stimulus may have to do it again. Yeah, so that's 6 stimulus. There's a lot going on there. China, the banking industry, Russian default, wheat, grain, soybeans, gasoline, and how much of it has been solved by the White House? At the time of tonight's recording, just LNG, opportunity to get the gas solved with Iran, but not formalized, and nothing for everything else. Deeply troubling as 1, the inversion curve happening tonight, suddenly we're heading into recession. 2, the new concern across the housing industry, new home starts down 3 months in a row, and the mortgage rate surging to 5%. A lot of bad economic data at the same time, a lot to do, and yet tonight I have for you a new budget bill that increases military spending. Folks, that is not where we should be spending at the moment. We should not be spending on the military that was deeply funded well under the Trump administration. So very, very confusing across the board on what the White House is fixing and how long it's taking to fix the other things across the board. Now, let's turn to student loan debt forgiveness. 7 stimulus. The White House has set up a deadline for itself, and that deadline is May 2nd. Why? Student loan debt forgiveness. The repayment of your student loan debt has been on frozen mode, moratorium, since the start of COVID, meaning you don't have to repay the student loan debt at the moment. That date runs out when? May 2nd. By May 2nd, you will have to start repaying your student loan debts, which you haven't had to do during those COVID months. So that's why the President's Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, says the President will make a determination on whether to forgive student loan debt by May 2nd or extend the moratorium. What do I think he will do, and what do I think he should do? I think he's going to extend the moratorium. I don't think he's going to do the student loan debt just right yet. What I think he should do is I think he should forgive the student loan debt. Why? The analysts today say across the board he should. Number 1, Barack Obama's education secretary says we put in place during the Obama administration with Biden legislation that allows him to forgive student loan debt. So he has the executive branch authority to do it. Number 2, even better, if he does it, if Biden forgives student loan debt, whether it's $50,000 or $10,000, and you get that big weight off your shoulder, to undo it, for Congress to undo it, neither party has enough votes. Republicans don't have enough votes, and Democrats don't have enough votes. So I think it's a free rein to go do it. Go do it and do it quickly. Wow, what a big night across the board. Finally, let's go into some of the other details that are very important tonight. With so many stimulus packages overlapping, one of the ones I get a lot of questions about, which is getting a new twist tonight, is fifth stimulus. Fifth stimulus is what we talked about all last year, your SSI reform. New details tonight, interesting, but not particularly clear. Let me tell you what's going on. When Liz Warren ran for president, she promised a wealth tax that would tax billionaires. Then she said she was going to use it to fund fifth stimulus. She didn't call it fifth stimulus, but she called it SSI reform. Last year, I featured her video after video she made, posted on her YouTube channel, saying she needs to have a wealth tax. She appeared on broadcast media all across the board. Today, the President of the United States debuting a wealth tax, taxing individuals whose net worth is over $100 million. There's the wealth tax. That's Liz Warren's wealth tax. He just calls it a billionaire's tax. He wants to use it to reduce the national deficit. Not to use it for SS 300, which he said he was going to do. A little confusing. Also confusing why he changed the name. Very, very confusing across the board. Now, let's go over the details of it. You don't have to do a wealth tax to do fifth stimulus, but there's certain parts of fifth stimulus which you have to do by Congress, and there's certain parts of fifth stimulus that Joe just needs to make a phone call. Let's recap, because we haven't seen this in a while on this channel. Fifth stimulus was to be done December of last year. Reforming your SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits. But then we started talking about one of the provisions that does not need Congress to do, does not need a full bill. It is making that phone call to that Social Security administrator head and replacing COLA for inflation right now, locking $200 more per month, lifetime. The rest of it has to go by Congress, hence fifth stimulus. Removing the income cap, removing the asset cap, removing the marriage penalty has to go by fifth stimulus. Now, it doesn't have to get funded by a wealth tax. It doesn't really, I don't think, in my opinion. Other people may disagree. So the fact that Joe Biden does or doesn't use any of this wealth tax for SS 300 does not mean that SS 300 is hurt in any way. But it makes more sense to use it because that's where it came from. Liz Warren proposed the two together, and to sort of break off one from the other gets a little confusing across the board. One of the new videos that came to this channel in the last 2 days is a revamped version of Home LA. It's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday, generally live. And you've seen it morph in many different versions. It was originally 28, called 28, the last 28 days of the Trump administration, then 48 days. Then it was called Home. Then it became the Home Edition in Christmas 2021. Remember the Santa Claus on the surfing board? Yeah, that was the Christmas stimulus. The first half of this video, the video was about stimulus, second half about your home decor and food and more. It became the I Stand With Ukraine edition, as we still continue to stand with Ukraine. But over the weekend, it morphed into a new version, and that new version is similar to how it was in December. First half of the video about your money and your stimulus with a new approach to it. Routing times. People want to know routing times. Which one comes first? Which one comes later? So if you want to know which would come and how long it would come, that is the video to watch. Also, in the second half of this video, we go over everything in the countdown to Easter, our next holiday, and I answer your questions across the board. But let me give you a preview of that new show at 11 a.m., which is apparently doing quite well. Viewers are really liking it. If you look at the landscape of where things are right now, third stimulus, MSC checks automatically paying out right now once you get approved. So make the effort, Purple Hawks, get the money. And once you get approved, you get it every month on the month for an average of 12 months of $2,000. So that landscape is right now. That's law right now. For stimulus, the $80,000 checks. Again, if you're a member, you want to become a member. The link's at the top of the channel, pin comment. Once you get the application on file, the lag time to get approved and funded is about 1 week. It may get longer as more time goes on because there are more applications in front of you. And this is at the time of tonight's recording, March 28th, 2022. Number 3, sixth stimulus, the Putin caused stimulus. The trifecta of Germany, France, and the United States, waiting to see if Macron is reelected in April. That is likely an April stimulus. Now, this has a lot of permutations because we have 3 leaderships and there's a lot of versions to it. Let me slow it down on this one for you. Sixth stimulus, you can see the international version. Biden, Chancellor Germany, and the Macron version as a trifecta. Then you have the Biden version domestically. Then you're going to have your Congress members doing versions. They already introduced one last week, a joke, $100 check for a gas pump. No, $100 check for some gas. I don't even know how to say it, because no one's gas tank at the moment, unless you drive like a Pinto or a tricycle, has less than a 15-gallon gas tank. $15 a gas tank at $5, $6 a gallon. You do the number. $100 is nothing. So that is what Congress is going to do. There's also going to be Senate. There are also going to be state governor versions. Governors across the country, Republican and Democrats, are all introducing their version of six stimulus. That is happening right now. That may come 2 weeks from now in your states. In California, they've already introduced one. When it's called for a vote, I'm not covering on this channel. Fifth stimulus, swapping out COLA for inflation, could be right now. And then that seventh stimulus, the student loan debt forgiveness, right on the horizon, May 2nd. Wow, it's a big month here on this channel. This month, March into April and into late April, is going to tell you a lot. It's going to tell you a lot. It's going to tell you the fate of that SS300, because we're going to watch what Jay Powell's doing and whether he's doing things he's working on. If he comes in a half basis point late in April at the FOMC meeting, how much does inflation come down, or does it come down at all? We're going to see if that inversion of the 2 and the 50-year Treasury notes gets worse, and if we're signaling a bigger recession. We're going to see whether the president really solves the situation for wheat and grain and oil fast enough, or six stimulus is going to be needed dramatically bigger than it is right tonight. We're going to see the countdown to seven stimulus for May 2nd. We got a big lineup coming. Meantime, if you liked the show that aired on this channel for over a year, the Crypto Live Overnight Show, featuring a lot of coverage of Dogecoin, tell me in the live chat if you want it back. Because guess what? Crypto is surging out of control overnight, with Bitcoin at its highest levels in many months, 47,000. This channel had been focusing exclusively on metaverse coins. Do you want to expand back to crypto? Jump in the live chat and tell me your comments as well. Shows continue throughout the night, and you don't want to miss a show or a single check. Evenings LA is America's most watched show in prime time at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every night. Then at 6 o'clock is Countdown, 7 o'clock is Street and Stimulus, 8 o'clock Extra, and 9 o'clock our new hit show, Sunset. But here is the exciting great news, is that as a member, you always get all the details first. If you haven't become a member, linked at the top of the chat in the pinned comment. Members were delivered by me to them immediately when the fourth stimulus was announced by the White House 4 Fridays ago. They immediately pounced, and they've been in with those applications and funded 4 weeks ago. Everyone else catching up. That's why you want to become a member, so you get these big checks by the minute. Third stimulus, those MSC checks became very apparent as viewers started getting them about 2 weeks ago. Immediately went into a modification of the newsletter that night as well. The newsletter is delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alert system. To make sure you don't miss an alert, go to the front of this channel, hit that bell, and make sure all the notifications are turned to all on. Then watch for 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for that YouTube alert system that sends you right into the membership newsletter. Apply and get all these big sums of money. As El Rarian said in that new comment today about talking about costs of living out of control, he's right. He really is right. We're looking at cost of living crisis. We're looking at that for the next 2 quarters, next 3 quarters. That means it's almost to the end of the year. When consumers are going to be harder hit by inflation, they're going to hit to a lower consumer sentiment. We already know it right now. That is why this channel is dedicated to you. Dedicated to ensuring your cost of living is buffered. Ensuring that your cost of living is supplemented by a check for rent, utilities, mortgages, and more, home repairs, nominal things like that the nonprofits pick up. That is how we've always done this channel. That's how we always do everything across the board. It's a big night, and we're just getting started. Stay with me throughout the rest of the night. And stay with me throughout the rest of the week, because guess what? We're waiting for a lot of breaking details. We're going to see the latest new economic detail to signal if inflation's higher or weaker. My prediction is inflation is actually higher. That's good for your SS300. We're going to see new details. So the White House does come in with that other CR that could potentially have a CR stimulus check in there for COVID. We're going to see if the president takes up the negotiation with Joe Manchin, as Joe Manchin is now representing Warrant. We're going to see if that consumer sentiment confidence continues to draw down the economy. Some economists, and I agree with them, say that of all the economic metrics you use, the most important one is not unemployment, it's not the housing industry, it's not a recession, it's not inflation, it's consumer confidence. Once you lose the consumer confidence, then everything starts to get worse. So we're going to see if that consumer confidence number continues to erode, and it's eroding because of inflation. You already saw that number tonight where people really feel the pinch. The pinch is very obvious. If it costs you more to live and you're not making more to live on because your salary hasn't gone up, then something needs to rub. And the thing that needs to rub is this channel. That's why this channel is giving you those extra sums of money, getting you and giving you all the incredible sums of money. It's important in a given day that you understand that this channel finds these monies. You're not going to see this covered on front page news of your local newspaper. You're not going to feature it in your financial channel. They're going to cover the stories that are simple and easy. My job is to often find the difficult stuff that pays you big sums of money. When we're talking about a monthly stimulus check of $2,000 a month for 12 months, that's not a small sum of money. That's a lot of money. When we're talking about $80,000 checks laying in your hand, that's not a small sum of money. That's a large sum of money. It requires you to be a purple hawk. It requires you to pounce. You can do it because you've been doing it for a year and a half. And as this channel approaches its 1.5 year anniversary on April 25th, 2022, we're getting ready for a lot of exciting developing details. If you have suggestions about what you want to see on this channel as it approaches its second year and goes into its second year, send me a private message. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. This channel's amassed 150 million views in that year and a half, at least. Haven't checked the numbers in a few weeks, but we're just getting started, and you are as well. Our prayers are with the people in Ukraine as the humanitarian crisis continues to get worse. Why? Because new indications say that Americans are losing attention span on the situation in Ukraine, and the donations are getting worse. Moreover, there's concerns that they can't get the donations into war-torn Ukraine as the borders are getting more buffered and more controlled by those Russian troops. We're staying on top of the Ukrainian situation, both domestically and internationally, both the humanitarian crisis and the economic crisis, both the heart and the soul, and the numbers and the monies. There's a lot at issue. And ultimately, I hope the White House keeps and remembers that when you're dealing with a major event like this, you have to prepare and you have to move quickly. Because if you don't, it's too hard to catch up. Remember, when I taught you how to see inflation by buying that milk and eggs at the supermarket back in January, and I said if the price of the gas of the milk and eggs went up 20 cents a month, you see inflation before I can report it. That's 20% inflation. If you can see that recessionary pressure kicking in, if you can see the inflationary pressure kicking in, you see it before I even report it. And with that, I hope you have a great evening. There's a lot coming up throughout the night, and there's a lot of breaking details, and there's a lot to be done in a very short period of time. Just a few weeks away from that early May, and can the White House get everything done? I'll be on top of the news. You'll be here. We'll follow all the breaking, developing details from the shores of Santa Monica to the shores of Black Sea. This is Evenings LA. See you next across the land as shows continue throughout the night, on the hour, by the hour, until midnight. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.